The media is trying to start a race war. I wanted to talk about the media's bias when it comes to race. Now, a lot of people say the circumstances would be different if George Zimmerman was black, killing Trayvon Martin. That he would have been convicted if he was black. Now, the same exact situation happened a few years ago with Christopher Cervini. This is a white teenage boy that was shot and killed by a black neighborhood watchman. The black neighborhood watchman's name was Roderick Scott. And Roderick Scott was found not guilty for killing this white teenager. It's the same similar circumstances. He was a neighborhood watchman. This white teenager was roaming the neighborhood, and he shot and killed this white teenager. Virtually the same way that George Zimmerman shot and killed Trayvon Martin. And he was found not guilty. Now, I'm just now hearing about this story. When this story happened back in 2009, the national media never covered the story. They barely even reported the story. And the reason why is because it's a black man killing a white teenager. Now, if this was a white man killing a black teenager, this would have been all over the news. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, everybody would have covered this story. But because it's a black man killing a white teenager, it got no media attention. And this just goes to show that the media is trying to start a race war. They're trying to put race into this Trayvon Martin case in order to start conflict between whites and blacks. Now, I'm not defending George Zimmerman. I think George Zimmerman should have been found guilty. I think he was wrong for doing what he was doing. I think he was wrong for profiling and following Trayvon Martin. But there's bigger cases, similar cases that have happened before where the person has been found not guilty. This is not the first time this has happened. A lot of people see a case like this and they think this is the first time this has happened, when it's not. It's happened numerous times before. And that's what a lot of people need to realize. The corruption in the media and the corruption in the justice system. Now, whether you think George Zimmerman was guilty or innocent, that's not the point that I'm trying to make. The point that I'm trying to make is that the media is biased. The media is biased because anything that involves a black victim and a person of a different race, they're going to exploit that story. They're going to exploit that story in order to divide people. And that's the reason why they exploited this Trayvon Martin case. George Zimmerman is not even a white man. He's a Hispanic. But they were, when this incident first happened, they reported it as a white man killing a black teenager. And by reporting it that way, that's what started all the conflict. That's what started all the protests. Because if George Zimmerman would have been reported as being a Hispanic killing a black, it wouldn't have got no media attention whatsoever. Because there's blacks and Hispanics that kill each other every day. In Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. There's brown versus black. These types of killing go on every day. But because the media reported it as a white man killing a black teenager, that's why it got so much attention. That's why it created so much divide throughout the country. That's what created all this protest. The media only cares about getting ratings. That's all they care about. And they will do anything to get those ratings. And I think people need to stop buying into the media's bias and stop feeding into this divide, because that's what the media wants. Because the more people are divided, the bigger the story is going to be. And the more ratings they get, and the more money they make off of it. Al Sharpton is part of the media. That's why I don't like Al Sharpton. That's why I don't like Jesse Jackson. They're race hustler pimps. All they care about is exploiting this story so they can make money off the story. And that's what they've been doing since day one. And I think people need to look at the bigger picture. A lot of people have different opinions about this topic. Leave a comment, rate, and subscribe.
Not guilty, the verdict in the manslaughter trial of Roderick Scott. After more than 19 hours of deliberations over 2 days, a jury acquitted Scott in the manslaughter trial for the shooting death of Christopher Cervini last April. YNN reporter Mike Adine joins us now in studio with reaction to the verdict. Mike?
Boy, it was quite emotional, Amy. When the not guilty verdict was read, family and friends of the defendant, Roderick Scott, erupted with joy, but the family of the 17-year-old victim, Christopher Cervini, showed signs of distress and devastation. Scott breathed a huge sigh of relief as he left the courtroom.
I just want to say thank you for people who believed in me, who stood by me. I still have my regrets for the Cervini family. I mean, it's still an unfortunate situation for them. I am happy that at least this chapter of it's over. As deliberations dragged on over 2 days and the jury asked for testimony to be read back, Scott admits he didn't know how this would turn out. I was nervous, of course. I mean, yeah, you never know which direction this whole thing is going to turn, so I have no idea. But it worked out. I feel that justice was served today. Cervini's family members say justice wasn't served. They say Christopher was murdered in cold blood and that he had never been in trouble, and Scott acted as judge, jury, and executioner.
And the message is that we can all go out and get guns and shoot anybody that we feel that is threatening us, and lie about the fact my son never threatened anybody. He was a gentle child. His nature was gentle. He was a good person, and he was never, ever arrested for anything and has never been in trouble. He was 16 years and 4 months old, and he was slaughtered.
Scott says he acted in self-defense when he confronted Cervini and 2 others, saying they were stealing from neighbors' cars. He told them he had a gun and ordered them to freeze and wait for police. Scott says he shot Cervini twice when the victim charged toward him, yelling that he was going to get Scott.
How could this happen to a beautiful, sweet child like that? All he wanted to do was go home. And then for them to say that he was saying, please don't kill me, I'm just a kid. And he just kept on shooting him.
Scott says the last 7 months have been difficult for him and his family. If he could go back to the events in the early morning hours of April 4th, there are things he says he would do differently.
If it meant a person not losing their life, absolutely. Would I have still tried to stop what was going on? That I would have done. But if I knew ahead of time that I could do something to prevent someone losing their life, I didn't want anyone to lose their life. So.
As he left the Hall of Justice, Scott said the first thing he was going to do when he got home was get a good night's sleep. When asked if he'll continue living in his current home, which is just 1 street away from the Cervinis, he said, for the time being.
And certainly, as you said in the beginning, Mike, an emotional case, both sides.
Exactly, both sides, and nobody knew what was going to happen in this one. And as the prosecutor, Julie Finocchio, said, this was probably one of the toughest cases that a jury was going to be confronted with.
Mike Adine, thank you.